first of all, I would say trademarks and designation rights in films play a very big role because basically our entire life is full of commerce, brands, logos. You see it everywhere. So no matter whether you do a documentary or whether you do fictitious movies, you can't avoid showing trademarks or having it in your movie or having it as a part of your movie. However, the role of trademarks and designations can be quite different because first of all, there are movies where you just want to show realistic atmosphere. You want to show somebody reading the New York Times, you want to have somebody eating breakfast, Kellogg's cornflakes, just like ordinary people, or ordering a Coke or a Pepsi in a restaurant. So that's one way of dealing with trademarks in films. And also the other side then is where you draw specific attention and you're using the trademark to also draw that attention to your movie. For example, there are movies like James Bond or Sex and the City that have all these luxury brands in it, and it also means something to the movie itself, you know, you associate a certain value with the movie. And especially using trademarks as part of your title, of course, I mean, it draws attention to the audience and it's different. For example, there's this movie called Kick It Like Beckham, and I assume there's a big difference, and the audience, you know, thinks, oh, what kind of movie is that? I want to see it, instead of calling your movie Kick It Like a Soccer Player, for example. The third aspect would be trademark owners or designation holders actually paying you money for being in a movie because it's good to be popular and well known, to spread the words, if I would say. But that's, I think, a different aspect, not so much of rights clearance, but it's more about financing your movie. We call it product placement, as you all know, and many you know, big movies, also Sex and the City, as I mentioned, and James Bond are full of it, you know. These people paying you money for being in it.
So every newspaper in the world, I imagine, has experience with questions like, can we use your newspaper in our film? And there's a few newspapers like the New York Times or the Washington Post that are really supportive. Sometimes they deliver a file that you can use, but they always say you can use our logo and the layout, but you have to create your own content. Like in the Evening Standards for the Ghostwriter, we created the front cover. Robert Harris, the author of the book, he wrote the article. We came up with the images, and the layout then was then sent to the Evening Standard, and they said it's okay to use. These are examples of German magazine covers that I was able to create, and it's always depending on who is asking, or if you do a bit of name dropping, like you use a famous director, a German director in this case, they say it's okay to use your own cover with our name. There's one exception. It's the biggest newspaper in Germany called Bild-Zeitung, and they answered the question, can we use your newspaper in our film with, when was the last time you saw our newspaper in a film? Never. So I had to create a newspaper that looked like the original, using a different name. Google is normally okay to use, but they demand 2 weeks until they answer your question. So if you plan to use an internet search in your film, you have to approach Google pretty early. And they also say that you have to create your own search results. So all the domains and all the links in this case were created by us. But there's also alternative website that you could use. There's a lot on the market.